Hey, happy campers, Todd here, Great American RV SuperStores, and today we're doing a technical walkthrough on our Jayco Eagle travel trailer. And what we're going to be doing is walking through, giving you the ins and outs and operation of your trailer based on just like a technician would do if you took delivery of it, all right? So this is going to pretty much cover Jayco Eagle travel trailers as a whole. We're not doing the individual floor plans, but this should cover most of the components on your unit, how they operate, few tips and tricks. If you want a deeper dive on some of those components, you can find that in the Haps Helpful Hacks section under our Great American RV YouTube. In the meantime, let's start in the front and see what we have. So in the front here, we have our 12-volt powered Lippard ton jack on off for our light. That's a good indicator our jack is getting 12 volts, so our motor should be getting 12 volts. So we should be able to extend and retract that. Now you might have noticed that this one is off the ground a bit. That is because it is tied in with our leveling system on here. So once it levels out, it will raise this ton jack off of here. We can notice that we have a 12-volt line and our two connections from our leveling system tied into here as well. We can follow that 12-volt line down the way to our power source. We're going to have breakers and stuff throughout our unit. We'll show you in the pass-through compartment, but we do have one right here. This one comes off of our main feed from our battery. These are resettable breakers right here for 12 volts. Now these are going to be automatic resets. There is one that is a manual. We'll have to go ahead and push a button on the side to reset that. They'll generally have a sticker on those that say this is a manual reset. If it doesn't have a sticker next to it, more than likely it is just a resettable on its own. So it'll heat up, it'll trip, give it about 2-3 minutes to cool down. Try that accessory again. If it constantly trips, obviously we have a problem and we need to get it checked out. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the other breakers and show you the resettables. Or over here, of course, we have our shot battery hooked up here, but your battery would go in this bin, positive and negative, your two wires leading back into your unit. Now also on the front, you're going to have your breakaway box right here. That breakaway box is a safety device. You're gonna have your lanyard right here, stretches out. You want to put a clip on this and on your receiver hitch of your trailer where you hook your chains up, okay? Not hooked to your chains, but around the hitch itself. And that's not the hitch that goes here, it's the hitch that's attached to your truck. Reason being is if this hitch or anything like that fails, we want this cable to go with the truck. We want it to go to a secure spot on the truck, and that pin will pull out. As long as you have a good 12-volt battery, that 12 volts will pass through there and it will activate the brakes on our trailer, bringing it to a stop. If you don't have a good 12-volt battery, it's not going to do anything. That trailer is going to keep rolling. So it's a good safety device to help bring that trailer to a pause if everything were to come disconnected. Also in the front, we're going to have our 7-way plug. That 7-way plug has all our connections right there where you'll hook it into the female port on your truck, and it's going to have your trailer lights, your trailer blinkers, your brake lights, all that stuff pass through here, as well as a battery charge line that will feed off of the alternator of your vehicle to help charge that battery while you're traveling down the road, as well as your brake control wire. The brake controller will activate the brakes on your trailer to help bring the trailer to a stop whenever your truck is stopping. Lastly, there are fuses for this, but they're all going to be on your towing vehicle. They're not going to be on the trailer. More than likely, everything is going to be on your towing vehicle, found under the hood, and you can look in your owner's manual to find out exactly what is what on there. We're going to have under this cover our propane tanks. Okay, on this cover, you can go ahead and loosen these and flip it up for quick, easy access. We'll pull that off, that way we can get a better view. Of course, you have to pull it off to pull these tanks off and get them refilled. One thing we'll notice, we have our dual propane regulator. It's hooked to both tanks. We have a rubber line on here. We want to check that rubber line for any cracking, peeling, anything like that. Once we start to see it deteriorate, we need to change this line out. And it's a good idea to go ahead and have a leak check done whenever you do that. Anytime propane system is taken apart, want to make sure a leak check is performed. So in order to operate our dual propane regulator, we would turn our tanks on, and you want to do both of them, okay? So once we turn them on, we can see that we have a little supply knob right here. This has an arrow indicator shooting over to that one. We can go ahead and swap it over to this one if we want, whatever, okay? Whatever tank we want to be our primary, point it in that direction. It's gonna pull off of that tank and that tank only until it gets to an empty point, at which point this gauge is gonna turn from green to red, signifying this tank is empty, but this tank is going to take over the flow and start providing propane to whatever source you are using. Once you notice that this is red, you can go ahead and swap it over to this one. If you have enough in it, of course, it will go to green. You can go ahead and get this tank filled up. Now that becomes your new secondary. Pretty simple system as far as your propane goes. There is a little trick to bleeding out your airline system. Bleeding the air out of your system, we'll go over that when we get to the stove. You have front cap lights on here. That switch is right here off to the side in your front compartment. Turn that off and on. We have our electronic leveling system right here we talked about. Okay, we have our motor system by Lippert. It is a ground control for the travel trailer system. You have one in the front and two in the back. There is an override for this system. In the event that everything goes wrong, you disconnect your motors and then you can put your override wrench in there and drive these jacks back up if anything were to ever happen. It's a good idea to make sure that plug is inserted back in there. That way no insects or anything build any nests. As far as your rear jack, go back here. Oh, that one is going to be on the bottom right there. You see a little cap right there. Pull that one out and you can do the same thing right there to override those rear jacks. Now let's go over how this works real quick. Pretty similar to fifth wheels. Okay, we'll kick it on. Voltage is important. If we have a bad battery, this system is not going to work properly, okay? So even if you're plugged in, it's not enough power. So you have to have a good battery and good voltage on here, okay? So once you turn it on, let's say you disconnected from your towing vehicle, okay, already, and our ton jack is down. From there, we want to hit auto level. Now here's a catch for our travel trailers. Because of this Jayco and how it sits, that ton jack may be already extended out as much as it can. This is a pretty level surface. I almost needed a block to get this to initiate. So it's a good idea to carry probably a 6-inch block or so with you. If your slope is slightly uneven at your pad, it could prevent you from being able to activate this system automatically. Okay, you can still do it manually, but auto level would be kind of difficult. So good idea to carry a block around with you. Put it under that ton jack whenever you disconnect. So you've disconnected, go into auto level. It's going to automatically do its job and level out your unit, and you're good to go. Look at the other features on here. We have auto hitch height. If we were to hit enter on that, it's going to retract all our jacks, extend our ton jack to the exact height that it was at whenever you disconnected your truck from it. So that's a nice feature there. We have auto retract all. Once you have connected to your truck, you can hit that button and all of your jacks will retract. Then we have auto retract rear. That's going to retract your rear jacks. That's going to retract your rear jacks. Manual level. This is if we want to go ahead. Maybe we have a door that's barely swinging because the unit is just slightly unlevel. We can hit that and then go into enter. And then we can go ahead and hit front, right, rear level and manually tweak that unit to keep that door from swinging open. If we need to retract the jacks, we just push retract, go through the same function there. And that would be the last function that we have on our unit. If we want a little bit more detailed information about our jacks and the status that they're in, you can go into manual level. You'll see right here, 0 is our goal. If we adjust this, we'll see the front to back. We'll see that degree mark kind of change a little bit. Same thing from left to right. That's only if you are in the manual mode. If we want to do auto retract on everything, we can do that. And then we'll see right our stroke on our jacks, our front left right, our front right front, all that stuff. It will give you the actual measurements of those, how those jacks are extended. Hit it again and it'll show our rear. Right, so just to get a little bit more information if you want to deep dive into that. Once the auto level is complete, it's going to do its job, shut off, and you're good to go. If you ever need a little bit more information about how this works, generally Jayco has a tag with operation somewhere near that control panel. Now we do have some more tips and tricks about zeroing our leveling system and all that stuff in some other videos we have on our Great American RV YouTube channel under Hap's Helpful Hacks. You might want to check that out. Over here we have our Nuvo H2O filtration system, water softener, whatever you want to call it. This has filter cartridges on the inside of here. Anytime you change these all out, you want to go ahead and kill the water to your unit, and then we can turn on a faucet, relieve pressure off of here. Use your little tool, unscrew these, change out your cartridges, and then kick your water back on and you're good to go. Our Go Power system right here, this is for our solar panels that we have on the roof. This is our actual controller. Okay, so this controller transfers solar power into charging power for our battery system. Not much, it's plug and play for the most part, okay, unless you go in changing all of your battery systems and stuff. There's really not much to worry about on this system. On this unit, we pulled down this panel right here along the roof line. You're gonna find these little secret compartments, okay? If you see screws like this, behind this one is going to be your water pump. Accessible through there. That is 12-volt powered, has a little screen on it. Want to go ahead and clean that. Here we're going to see all our circuitry for our leveling system right here on this main board here. We have some fuses located here. It's where all your 12 volts goes in and that system is controlled. Here is going to be our EXACTSLIDE right there by BAL. That's our main control board for that, for one of our slide outs. So you want to kind of look throughout your unit. If you're trying to troubleshoot things, you can go ahead and unscrew panels and find that. Also, you can go to Jayco, call them and give them the last 8 of your VIN number, and they're generally able to go ahead and tell you where that stuff is located, so you don't have to rip your entire unit apart to get to it. All right, speaking of our BAL system right here, we don't have a video on it, but BAL has a video on how to override that. The motors are not on this particular slide. You'll see the cables on it. We'll show you in a little while. But the motors are located right there inside that wiper seal. You have a wiper seal on both sides, so it's going to look like this from a top view, and that motor is located right in the center of those two. So there is an override for that system. We'll have the link for that down in our description right there. Have a little light switch right here. That light switch is for our tank system over there for our dump station. Give you a little bit of light. We have our quick connect system right here. Have a little coiled hose that'll come with your unit. You'll have several of these ports around your unit. Stick it in, lock it in, turn your water on, and you're good to go. Down below that, this light right here is for our water pump. Kick our water pump on, that light will turn on, signifying your water pump is active. Our water pump pulls from our fresh tank. Okay, our fresh tank is our onboard water storage. We take with us if we are going to a campsite that has no water. Maybe we use it when we're traveling at a rest stop, so on and so forth. That is how we extract that water from that system. If you don't have a city water connection, you want to fill your tank up, turn that water pump on, you'll have water at your fixtures. We have our black tank flush right here. This will have to do with our dump station. So reminder of where that is right now. We'll talk more about it when we get to our actual dump station. Satellite, auxiliary, and cable. Satellite, if you have a tripod or automatic satellite you want to plug in right here, that's going to go to all the ports on your unit. We have our cable input right here. If the campground has cable, you're going to go ahead and hook it up there. Once again, it'll go to all our TVs on our unit. And auxiliary is if you just have a secondary satellite or something else, DVD player or whatever you want to go to all the ports on your unit, you can plug it in right there. To the left, you're going to have your sanitized, winterized port, and then your city water connection port right here. So let's go over all these different valve configurations real quick. Sanitize, you would hook your water hose up to here and then run it down to a bin full of bleach and water. Kick your water pump on and it's going to suck the water and bleach mixture out of the tank and put it into our tank on our unit. From there, we turn it to dry camp. Kick our pump on and then it will go out to all of our fixtures. We can sanitize our tank or just dump it, or we can sanitize all our fixtures too, then flush it out with regular water. Tank fill, we're going to hook a water hose up to here. We would turn our water hose on from our water bib and then that would fill our tank. We can monitor the level of that from our monitor on the inside. Dry camp. Dry camp is, once again, we're trying to extract water from our fresh fill tank, and we would do that by turning it to this combination right here, kick our water pump on, we have water with us. Winterize, very similar to sanitize, except we are putting RV antifreeze into our unit, and that's not going to pump to our tank, it's going to pump straight to our fixtures. Right, so there is a series of steps that involves your low point drains that we'll show you in a little while, and then how to go through the sequence of putting RV winterization into your unit. You want to check that out in your owner's manual or one of our videos on the HAPS Helpful Hacks. City water, that is if you do have a water connection there at the campsite, turn it to that configuration, hook your water up, turn the water bib on, it's going to supply water to all your fixtures. Down below that we have our black holding tank and our gray holding tank. These are our valves to go ahead and open them up. So let's step over to our port over here. We have our port, 4-inch line. We hook our sewer hose up right here. We go out to our dump station. If you have one at the campsite, great. If you don't, you're not going to do any of this until you get to your dump station at the campsite, okay? So you're hooked up, you're at your campsite, you have your hose hooked up, you have your black tank and your gray tank. Your black tank is holding all your sewage from your toilet. Your gray tank is holding all your water, maybe a little bit of debris and stuff from a kitchen sink and stuff, but all your water from your showers and your sinks, okay? So on this one, we have 2 gray tanks. We can see another gray tank valve right here. We have our black tank and our gray tank valves in that front compartment. Our black tank, because it's holding solids, toilet paper, all that stuff, we want to keep that valve closed until we are ready to dump. The reason being is we always want several gallons of water in that tank so that stuff doesn't solidify and stick to our tank, causing you dry tank or clogging issues or anything like that later on. So make sure we don't open that handle until we are ready to dump. We have our hose hooked up, lock it in, pull the gray tank, let everything start coming out, hook a water hose up to your black tank flush. Once you've hooked the water hose up to that black tank flush, turn it on. That's going to lead to a jet port on the other side of this black tank and help push some of those solids over here to help flush it out. Once you are done, you go ahead and shut off that black tank. You want to fill that tank up with more water, right? Fresh, clean water and our chemicals. We can do that through our toilet on the inside. Just hold the pedal down, add your several gallons of water to it, and you're good to go. Add your chemicals, let it rip. Leave that tank closed off until the next time you use it, or if you want to flush it after you get home, you can do that, but add more water when it's done. Beyond that, there are some other tips in flushing your tank system in our Helpful Hacks section on the YouTube channel. Gray tank, you can leave that valve open all the time if you have the hose hooked up there at the campsite. If you don't, obviously you don't want that water draining out, but you can leave it open all the time. Those tanks will tend to fill up a little bit faster if you have multiple people using your unit. The gray tanks can fill up kind of fast. Little tip, if you like to wait till the last day, close those valves off. Everybody takes a shower, you're ready to flush out your tank. You flush your black tank out, then save the gray tanks for after, and that'll help kind of clean that hose a little bit with some of that gray water. It's a little bit soapy, you know, from your sinks and showers and stuff. Up to you on whether or not you want to do that. This extra valve right here is just to keep the residual from dripping out, making a mess. You want to open that up whenever you dump your stuff, close it whenever you are done with dumping everything. You're going to have a little sewage storage station right here. Open that up, you put your sewer hose in there. That way you don't have to put it in your compartment. Okay, let's talk about our slide outs real quick. This one is an electric slide. We can see that ram right there. There is a motor in our underbelly that operates that slide out. Once again, 12-volt power. There's going to be an override on the other side. We'll show you a little hole in your J-wrap right there. 3/4-inch crank handle or impact. You can go ahead and put on there lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So lefty-loosey is going to retract, righty-tighty is going to extend, and that will run your slide out in and out if there's ever an issue with it trying to override it. This one right here is going to be the same. You may have a Schwintek slide anywhere on your unit that's going to have a guide track right here at the bottom and maybe 1 or 2 at the top. And that is a separate kind of system, electric, motors on both sides of the slide out. and that has an override for a panel on it. If you want to watch our Schwintech video on HAP's Helpful Hacks, you can find that in there. The other type of slide that you might have is a cable slide. Okay, so you'll see cable here, cable here. Same thing, has motors on either side of it that run that cable in and out. We're gonna have a video for that here before long. That will be under our BAL EXACTSLIDE right there. There is gonna be a board for that, generally hidden behind a panel. We'll show you where that is on this one later on. Okay, back on the side of our unit here, let's make sure we didn't miss anything. Have some, of course, compartment space and everything right there on the sides. Have our Furrion tankless water heater, on-demand water heater, however you want to call it. Pull that tab, pull that out. On here, you're going to see that little on-off switch right there. That is a technician switch. If your panel isn't on the inside, come check, make sure that that switch is actually on. You can also check our little 12-volt blade fuse right here for power. There's a main fuse on the inside of the water heater. Of course, you're going to have 12 volts going to it for the power portion of it. Otherwise, it is going to use, of course, water flow is going to pass through here, and then propane to heat that water on the back end of this. Do have a flow meter here. My suggestion is just crank it up. That is going to be the amount of water that flows through the system to output. So it's going to decide how much hot water is actually passing through here to output out to your unit. Down here, you do have a little black plug, kind of hard to see. There is a screen in there you want to clean every so often, and down below that, you're going to have your drain port, and the clear hose right there is going to be your pop-off valve. If this system ever gets too hot, you don't want it to combust, so that is our pop-off valve. Reaches a certain pressure or temperature, it's going to go ahead and dribble out a little bit of water in there. It just dribbles out some water, that's perfectly okay. If it is spraying out water, then we have an issue, and we want to go ahead and get that taken care of on our water heater. So put our little tabs in, stick it back in, lock it. This, of course, is going to be an exhaust. You're going to have some hot air come out of there, so be aware of that whenever it is active. 50 amp twist lock. Yours may have a 30 amp. Either way, same thing. You're going to plug it in, turn it to the right, lock it in, and then you tighten up your little ring on there to prevent kids and stuff from popping that thing out. Then we plug it into our shore power over there on the side. Well, I always want to plug that in second because it'll cause arcing on the plastic on here, on this connection right here. We don't want to wear that out. So be careful, make sure that this is locked in tight. You don't want any gaps or anything like that, causing any arcing and ruining that plug. While we're at our slide outs, we'll point out at the top they are prepped for a slide topper on each one of them. We have our brackets up there, good preventative maintenance to keep our slide out roofs protected from pine needles and stuff. You get branches and things up there, it will tear up all of your rubber gaskets around it on the roof. So slide toppers are a nice addition to your unit. If you can afford to do that, I suggest doing it. These slide outs do take some maintenance. We want to lubricate our seals, lubricate the bracketry underneath, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you watch that video on how to do that. Read your owner's manual, one of the two. That is important maintenance. Back here we have our furnace, 12 volt powered, and of course propane to heat the air. This is going to be our output. If we remove these screws, we could gain access to the internal components of our furnace. If you are savvy on that kind of stuff, we do have some videos that go over a little few components on there. Otherwise, bring it to a technician, have them check it out. On the back, of course, we have a ladder to access our roof. Why, you ask? Well, our roof is one of our main areas that needs maintenance. After you take a trip, it's a good idea to check that rubber up there to make sure no tree limbs or anything has poked any holes in it. And we also want to check our sealant around all of our vents and everything in there, because that sealant is going to degrade over time. It's going to crack, it's going to peel, it's going to dry up. Want to check all that stuff, clean it, and seal over it with new sealant. This is considered customer maintenance. If we don't take care of that stuff, manufacturers aren't going to participate in any water entry into our unit. This includes anything around our lights, our trim, around the side of our unit, all our floor line, on our slide outs. All that stuff needs to be monitored and checked for any cracking, peeling, or deterioration. You find it, clean it, reseal it. We do not want to allow water entry into our unit. #1 killer of RVs, and manufacturers, like I said, aren't going to participate in that kind of repair because it's like changing the oil in your car, right? Got to take care of your unit. Whether you keep it in a barn, under a cover, out in the sunlight, whatever, every 60 to 90 days, check that sealant and get it taken care of. Bring it to a dealership if you have to. Make sure you're checking that stuff. And you want to wash your roof about twice a year too, and keep that rubber in good condition. Up there, we're also gonna have that black box. That is our prep for our backup camera system. Power's already ran through there. Whenever you turn your running lights on, our backup camera will kick on. We can see behind us while we're traveling down the road. Gonna have a receiver hitch back here. You're gonna notice no hooks, no holes for our hooks for safety chains, no lights back here as well. So that means it is not equipped and ready for towing. So, and as it says right there, not for towing. So keep in mind, this is just for like an extra carriage, bike rack, anything like that on the back of here, not set up to tow a golf cart, boat, or trailer behind you. On the back end right here, we're gonna have a little J-port. J-port is like a receiver hitch. They have all kind of different stuff, accessories that you can put in here, a table, barbecue pit, stuff like that you can go ahead and put on. Speaking of barbecue pit, down below it, we're going to have our quick connect for a gas line barbecue pit. You'd have the male connection, you stick it in there. In order to do that though, we have to have this valve right here shut off, so this will actually open up for a quick connect. Once you hook it up, you want to turn it back on, that way that flow will go through the hose. Then of course, safety wise, it won't let you disconnect it until you turn it back off. Disconnect it, put that little plug in there so no insects build a nest in there. To the right of that, you're going to have your low point drains, red line, blue line. That is your low point drains for winterization. You want to know where those are at. That way you can winterize your unit and drain the water out of that system. Here, a little outdoor shower. You have that quick connect once again. Turn your water on. You have hot and cold right out here in the back. We'll see that little white valve right there with the hoses coming off. That is for your fresh tank. Your fresh tank needs to be drained after a camping trip. You don't want to leave that water in there. That water is going to get stagnant over time, and that is eventually going to cause some bacteria to grow, all right? So it's added extra weight for our unit as well. So just dump that water out. The hoses right there are overflow hoses. If you happen to overflow that fresh tank, it's all right, that water is going to come out of those hoses and drain on the ground. We'll notice right here, this little post sticking out, that is an override for our electric slide out on the other side. So I said there's a hole in the J-wrap. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, but you can generally find that post on the other side. If yours doesn't come with a post, we can see they do leave a little panel right here on the underbelly. You can unscrew and gain access. That post is going to be on the motor itself, very similar to the override on our jacks. As we move on here, we're going to notice a vent right there. That is going to be above our stovetop. That is for a vent on that microwave to exhaust air out. I have a couple little tabs on there. Those tabs are to lock that little vent in. Whenever you store your unit, it's a good idea to lock it in so no insects can build any nests, and you want to unlock them. That way you can actually ventilate air out whenever you are cooking. Skip over to the front right here. This hole right here leads to your spare tire. Spare tire is going to be much like that override on your slide out right there, so don't get confused if you start cranking that and your spare tire comes down. That is what that one is for. In our front compartment right here on the other side, of course, we have our prep for our inverter system. An inverter changes 12 volts to 110. So if you're dry camping somewhere, you can actually invert. If you don't have a plug-in, you can hook that up and you can change 12 volts to 110, operate things like your TV, cell phone chargers, stuff like that, if you want to upgrade that system. Here we have our output for our outdoor TV. Also going to have a USB port. We have a surround sound for our outdoor speakers. Plug this HDMI in right here. That is going to go to this port here. This controls your speakers on the outside, A and B. You also have Bluetooth if you want to hook your phone up to it, or if you want to kick over to the TV, hit that button right there. Turn it off, just hit that button there. So I said there is a manual reset in here, and generally anywhere where there's a manual reset, there is going to be a sticker. So just behind that hole right there, kind of hard to see, Let's see if we can get a different angle as we open this up. I have that little black button on there. So this one is for our refrigerator. If you have a 12-volt refrigerator, you're going to have a manual reset. And they made it convenient with a little hole in there. If your refrigerator is ever not working, want to come here and reset that system. So behind there, as we pull it off, we're going to see some more of those breakers, but these are all automatic, okay? So if they heat up, they trip, give it a little bit of time, they will reset. And of course we have a wiring diagram showing you what all that stuff goes to, just so you know. Your 7-way comes into here, a little junction box, and it's going to go out to all of your lights and everything else throughout your unit. Outdoor speakers, we talked about that. You do have a little light switch on this one for underglow by your steps. And then we have our door. Okay, so our door swings open like this. You may have your latch down here for it, or you may have the door with the friction hinges. Keeps the wind and kids from slamming that door open, so it's normal to have some resistance on that door, just so you know. Then you have your solid steps. Anytime you put these solid steps up and down, you want to make sure that door is open all the way. And you just lift up. You're going to have a shock assist on here, right off there to the side to help you lift that. You can do it one-handed. Whenever you're ready to come down, grab it, pull it down, set it on the ground. Now, after you level out your unit, you want to level your steps out. The reason being is you want a nice level threshold here for your door to open and close properly, but you also want to make sure that you don't have any interference by these two frames hitting right here and damaging your door. So to do that, we have our extendable and retractable legs right here. We can go ahead and push this button right here in, and then we can hold it in and move our legs in and out to achieve our level steps. Now let's check out our awning. All right, so we have our awning, 12-volt powered. It is going to have wiring that runs through our front arm, and it's going to come out of the wall either at top or bottom. This one, it is the top. It runs through our arm right here and leads to our front awning arm head, which is our motor side. Also going to have 12 volts for our lights there as well. Now our awning is mainly a sunscreen. It is not a rain deterrent. If it is heavy rain and stuff, you want to roll that thing in. Heavy winds, roll that thing in. It will collapse if you allow a bunch of water to accumulate on there. Now you're going to have light dew, light rain, and then probably also some AC condensation that comes off of your AC and roof line that can puddle on there. We need to make sure that stuff can drain off. So either at your front arm over there or your rear arm, both of them are going to be the same. Grab it right here. Put that little bend in it right there at the pivot point. Now our awning can drain the water off to the side and allow that water to come off. Ready to put it back, just give it a push. It'll go back. You're leaving your unit for an extended period of time, it's a really good idea to roll that awning up. That way you don't come back to any kind of catastrophe. So a few tips on that. Don't take the chance, I promise. Let's go check out the inside. All right, so as you walk into your unit, you're going to see your control panel right here by BM Pro. I'm going to go over a little video that covers information on that now. All right, so this is our BM Pro system right here. You got a touch panel. Touch it, it wakes it up. So we have our home screen right here. Our home screen is shortcuts, okay? So we're gonna have our main AC system right here. We can turn off and on, a couple of lights. We can go straight to our tanks, energy, quick start is checklist of different things. All just your main stuff right there. So just a little bit of information on this. It's an Android tablet. We hit that middle button right there. It'll bring us to our regular home screen that you would have on Android, right? So it's actually a BM Pro app that's downloaded on there. We can go ahead and just click on that. That'll bring up our screen. So whenever we go into these shortcuts, it'll bring us into a different menu, give us what we have for these items. So if we want to go back to that main home screen, we hit home. So let's thumb through these menus. Talked about it, the shortcut. Gives you all that. All of that can be covered in all of these as well. You have your water pump right here. That water pump is, once again, that 12-volt water pump that's going to pull from our fresh tank and supply to all our fixtures. Just click it, turns it on. and it illuminates, letting you know that it is on. We also have our 2 gray tank levels and our black tank on this one. You may have multiple black tanks instead of multiple grays. You may have a single gray tank and black tank. Just depends on your floor plan, right? Nothing else. You always want to kind of scroll up and check each screen to see if there's any other options below, but nothing else as far as the water is concerned. Here is our leveling right here. This would be the main screen. So outside we have the keypad, and that keypad we can do a few controls there, but this we can go ahead and do it from here as well. So if we want to auto level from the inside, we click auto level right there. The status will change to auto leveling. When it's idle, that means everything is still and done. If we want to go ahead and make some adjustments to the front, left, right, or rear, we can do that from here as well. If we want to retract all of our jacks, we can do that from here as well. Individual jack control, this would bring us to our front left, our front right, and our rear left. Once again, idle meaning we're sitting still, and it'll change if we go to activate that one jack. It will say level in progress. If we go back right here to leveling, we have that main screen that we were just at. As I mentioned as well, it will come up with error codes right here as far as, you know, maybe your jacks need to be rehoned or something needs to be done. It will pop up with an error code, and it'll actually give you that information. And it'll give you a few little signs on what to do. If you haven't figured it out, you can Google it or look in the owner's manual. It gives you a lot of information when it comes to these leveling systems, and some information as far as what to do to fix some of those. We also have a few videos on the LCI systems too, just nothing on the touch screen in particular. Here we have slide outs, we have awnings, all that can be controlled right here. But the bigger question is, what happens if my touch screen goes out? Well, all that can be done right here as well. You have A1, A2, you have slide out 1, slide out 2, slide out 3, extend and retract. So if something ever happens to this, there is redundancy. Same thing for all of our lights. We'll notice the keypads around our unit that can turn all our lights off and on our unit as well. Going to here, we have our thermostat for our main AC, which is our living room, and our second AC, which is our bedroom. So both of these are going to be the same as far as functionality. We turn it on. We can go ahead and adjust our temperature right here. We have our actual room temperature right there. We have our mode. Our mode is cool, cool auto, fan, and heat. Now our other AC in our bedroom is only going to be just cool and auto cool. We'll notice that there's no heat on that one. Heat is only going to be for the single furnace that we have in our unit. Unless we have multiple ones, we're only going to have one heat option in here. And that'll be based off of our main living room area. So cool, put it on cool. We adjust our temperature. We can go ahead and adjust our fan speed, high or low. We put it on cool auto. That will keep our fan on auto. So that means that fan will shut off and on rather than just be on high or low as we set it earlier. If we want just the fan to be on, we can go ahead and do that here. And once again, we can do low and high. Now it's not going to cool the air off, it's just going to circulate the air throughout the unit. If we want heat, we click on that. Our furnace will go ahead and kick in when the appropriate temperature sets in. And there is no fan speed. You can hit off or low, it doesn't matter. There's no fan speed for the furnace. It only has one furnace setting. Now we'll also notice that the air comes out of our ceiling vents for cool and fan, everything to do with the AC. Heat is going to come out of our vents down along the floor line. So we'll have those vents below cabinets and stuff like that. That is where the hot air is coming from, not the rooftop. So just be aware of that. On our lights, same thing. We have all these lights right here. Guess what? This turns off our interior lights and turns them on. This does our exterior lights, and this does both interior and exterior. So once again, if those lights go out, we can take care of that right here. Our next one is our sensors. So with BM Pro, we can add sensors. You can purchase the tire pressure sensors, a propane sensor, and it will give you your tire pressure, to give you your propane level. You can do an exterior temperature sensor. All that stuff can be added on here if your system doesn't already come with that. Some trim models do. Last one is our battery and fuel level. If this was a toy hauler, we'd have fuel level on here. We have our battery level right there, 13.1. That means we're charging. We have our solar. That would be the voltage coming in from our solar and the current being used. And then we also have our solar temperature. Solar history tells you right here the amp hours, as well as our total power generation off our solar, and then total operating time as well. We can go ahead and clear that history right there and reset it if we wish. So going back to the main screen, we also have a settings button right here up top. Now this is Bluetooth connected to this panel right here. This screen is Bluetooth connected to here. We can also Bluetooth it to our phone, downloading the BM Pro app. And in order to do that, we download that app. We go to PA right here, hit extend. This will begin to flash and we can go ahead and sync it up with our phone, and it'll give you those instructions on your phone as well. Remote connection is a free account. You can create that with BM Pro, and if you have Wi-Fi linked up on your camper, wherever you're at, you log into that same account on your phone and you can activate these items from your phone from afar rather than Bluetooth. Like Bluetooth is right next to the unit, the Wi-Fi is from anywhere, right? So you have to create that account, and as long as you have Wi-Fi, you'll be able to log that in and do it. We hit that back button for anything in the settings menu to back up. Our WineGuard system would be our router system. If we were to get that gateway Wi-Fi system, we can go ahead and enter all that information in there. We have our sensor settings. This would be, once again, for all of our tire pressures, our temperatures, so on and so forth. We can make those adjustments for when those triggers go off. Our battery levels are for all of those wall switches that we talked about. We'll see here in a little while. This tells you that our battery level is okay in these items. And if we want to remove any of these wall switches or repair them, we could do that here. We have no tire pressure sensors on this one, but if you got one, we would go ahead and see that pop up right here as far as what our battery levels are. Moving on, we have motor settings. Our motor settings is our 0 point for our jacks. So 0 point is if your unit is flat level, that is your 0 point, okay? So if we need to set our 0 point, because for whatever reason, every time we auto level, our unit is off, then we want to come in here and we want to hit set. Once we have our unit leveled out, we'll hit start, and then we can level it, and then we hit set once our unit is zeroed out. We have some videos that go over that. Once again, not touchscreen, but it gives you the basics, and you can figure it out from here on your touchscreen on what to do. Last is owner or user manual. That's only going to pop up, of course, if you are connected to Wi-Fi, because that would be internet. Same thing for about system. We have preferences that'll go into Celsius or Fahrenheit, PSI or KPA for our air and our tires, and then you have a diagnostics if we need to do any troubleshooting. If you are trying to repair this to the system, this all goes back to that hub we saw in the pass-through. You would go ahead and hit your Bluetooth right here to reconnect that if for whatever reason it was out. If we want to hook up to Wi-Fi and stuff, and then we can click right here, connect to an open Wi-Fi, search for the Wi-Fi that we want in the area, and connect this whole screen to the internet. Now, like I said, this is an Android tablet, so there are other apps and stuff usable on here. If your system's ever lagging, hit that square button right there, and then you can actually close these apps out. You can close that BM Pro app out. If you're connected to the internet, you can go into Google Chrome. There's a calculator on here, different stuff, right? So you can use it like a regular tablet if you wish. It is not necessarily detachable, so just kind of keep that in mind. Biggest thing to know is you can close that app out and restart it if you're ever having any lagging difficulties. There is a button, a little bitty hole right up under this arrow button right here, paper clip or anything you can put in there that will actually reset and power that system down. If we go to OF right here, that actually shuts off the system when you hit extend right there. And that's pretty much the gist of our BM Pro system. Now, BM Pro does a great job. They have a great website, and they also have a YouTube channel. If you go to BM Pro on YouTube, you can find their channel, or you can go to their website, teambmpro.com, and has a ton of videos that goes into further depth and gives you some more diagnostics on here. Not going to redo all those videos. They've already done it. They've already got it, and they did a great job at it. So that wraps up everything for our touch panel there. All right, that covers our BM Pro. Down below this particular one, we have our little sensor right here. That is for your AC systems, okay? That's picking up your temperature in that area to go ahead and repeat back to our thermostat on our touchscreen. So you may see those around. You don't want to cover them or anything. That's picking up temperature for that AC system so it knows what the temperature is, right? On this particular one, we have a TV lift. That TV lift is 12-volt power. Have a little switch right here to run it up and down. Have a motor and rack control right there. If you have any issues with that, you're going to want to go to your 12-volt fuse panel to check and see if that is tripped out. Or you may have the actual resettable breaker in the front that covers that as well. Somewhere in your unit, whether it be cabinets or something, it's going to generally be around your living room TV. We can see that little green light down there. On this one, you want to reach down there. You can push a little button next to it, turn that green light off and on. Now what that does is that is an antenna booster. When that light is on, our antenna booster is on. That helps us pick up more channels in the area by boosting the antenna signal. When we have cable at the campground and we have that hooked up, we want to turn that antenna booster off. So when we scan for channels, we aren't scrambling them. If you want more information on scanning for channels on cable or antenna, we have a video for that, of course, on our helpful hacks section. Now you're going to see two ports on there. The one on the top is going to be for satellite. So if you have that satellite hooked up on the outside, that is going to run to there. From there to your satellite receiver and then out to your TV with a HDMI. The bottom one is going to be cable and antenna for that system. So just so you know, bottom is cable and antenna, satellite is on top. Over to the right, we're going to have our surround sound for our TV right here. So we have two separate centers for that. Kick it on, we have TV. If you want to do Bluetooth on your phone, you go ahead and hold down the Bluetooth right there and we can go ahead and sync. We'll search for this device. A and B controls your speakers on the inside for your unit. Down below that, we have a little light for our slide outs and stuff. So you're going to have separate lights from your touch panel over there, generally in slide outs. The touch panel over there isn't going to control your slide out lights. Over here we have our 110 fireplace. So this is going to be electric heat, not gas. Kick it on right there. We can change the color of our flames with a little flame icon right there. We can actually turn our heat on with the little wavy icon right there that kicks it on. You can see our temperature. That can be changed with our up and down arrow right there. On is going to have it on, just heating up air, okay? We can change it to a certain temperature. It will heat till the room gets that temperature, and then the heater will shut off. We can also do a timer, 1 hour to 8 hours. Once you click it and it goes to a blank screen, that means that timer is off. Turn it off, you're good to go. You're generally going to have a remote that comes with that too that's going to have those same buttons and function the exact same on there. Over here we're going to have our microwave. Do have that hood vent under there, just like we talked about. When we're cooking, we can kick that on. If the vent on the outside isn't opened up, that air is not going to circulate out of our unit, so keep that in mind. Have our stovetop right here. When we get to our stovetop, okay, this is the best place to bleed air out of the system. We talked about it with our propane tanks in the front. Anytime you store your unit, you're generally going to store it with your propane tanks off. Long period of time, that propane is going to dissipate out of the line. Even a short period of time, you're generally going to have air in that system. All right, so first thing you want to do once you turn your propane tanks on is come over to your stovetop. We go ahead, turn it, light it. I want to put it on high and just hold it down until it lights. Once it lights, let it run for about 30 to 60 seconds until you have a nice blue flame on there. See how long it's taken here? It may take up to a minute depending on where your stovetop is positioned on your unit. So we just keep popping away until it actually lights. Once again, once it lights, let it go ahead and burn off. So this one's taking a while. You get the point, right? Just keep running it until we light it stove. You can do, if you have two hands, you can go ahead and do 2 burners at once. That will help speed it up as well. For our oven, make sure we've bled the air out of the system. We go to our oven. We can see down at the bottom, kind of hard to see. Okay, we have our burner tube right there. If we were to take our oven knob, turn it, we can see a little spark there at the bottom right there. What we're looking for is a pilot flame. Now this is still going to take a little bit of time after the first time you bled the air out of your system. It's still going to take a little time to light. Once it lights, you're going to see a little flame under there. We want to keep pushing this knob down once it lights for about another 20 seconds or so. Let that thermocouple heat up, and then we can go ahead and turn our knob here, and then that heater, that tube right there is going to fill with gas, light up, and then we're ready to cook. Have a little button here for lights on the oven, and of course your knobs. Wraps up everything on our stovetop. Come over to our GE refrigerator. May have a different brand, just depends. We have our freezer and of course our refrigerator portion. On this one we have a control knob here on the side. Cold, cold and cool, or sorry, cool, cold and colder. And then we also have off. We want to put it in the off position when we are storing our unit. That's going to shut down the compressor on here. Allow you to defrost your freezer and shut down the compressor on the fridge. After it does all that, we want to defrost this, wipe it all down, make sure we get all the water out of here and here, reduce your opportunity for mold and mildew, and then also reduce opportunity for the water to leak out of here and damage our wood components around our fridge, which the manufacturer is not going to participate in. Right? Water gets on this wood stuff, it's going to swell, it's going to damage it. Manufacturers aren't going to participate. Same thing if you have an outdoor fridge on your unit. Make sure you defrost it, clean it all out, wipe it down so it doesn't mold and mildew and it doesn't damage the wood around it. Beyond that, 12-volt refrigerator on here. We talked about our resettable breaker in the front. That's going to be the only resettable breaker generally, consistently on your travel trailer is going to be for our refrigerator. Throughout our unit, we do have exit windows and stuff. Refer to your owner's manual if you can't figure out how these work, but pretty simple. They're going to be your bigger windows. Generally, some of them have latches that you have to pull to open the whole thing up. On our island, we're going to have a GFCI resettable breaker, resettable outlet. This is generally going to be in your kitchen or your bathroom. This is going to control all your wet outlets. So any outlets you have outside, in your kitchen, in your bathroom, you may have one or two of these that have these two buttons. If you have an outlet in a wet location, or generally anywhere in your unit, you want to come check and make sure the red light is not on here. That means that this is tripped, and in turn, all of your outlets that are connected to it are tripped. So to reset it, come over here, hit that reset button, and it should kick everything back on. If it trips again, what trips it is generally because it got wet or you have too many heating elements plugged in. Coffee makers, griddles, blow dryers, stuff like that on that circuit, and it's going to end up tripping out that system. So if you've unplugged all that stuff, you made sure all your outlets are dry and it's still tripping out, it may have a bad GFCI, and you want to go ahead and get that checked out. Down below that, you're going to have your RV CO and propane alarm right here. This is to warn you of any cautious gases. You do have an alarm on here. You want to go ahead and push that, test that alarm, make sure everything is working properly on it. Green light right here indicates power. It is hardwired into your 12-volt system for safety. And we want to also identify that there is an expiration date on here. These things are good for 5 years. You want to go ahead and replace it so you have a good gas monitor in here and it's good to go. If it's not on the front, it's going to be on the back, so you just unscrew it, look on the back side, or you can tell generally by the year model of your unit. If it's 2025, probably expires in 2030. On our roof line, of course, we're going to have smoke detectors. 9-volt battery, those are good for 10 years. Check it whenever daylight saving comes around. Change that battery out and make sure we're in good shape on that. On your unit, you may have a setup for a second or third AC. You'll have that little cover right there. The 110 wiring is already in there, ran down to your breaker panel to where you can install that AC system on there. So that is what that is. Speaking of your ACs, these are the vents that you're going to have. If you don't see your ceiling assembly in here, that means that you have return vents and output vents. So your output vents are going to be these circular ones right here. This is where your cool air is going to be coming out. And right here, these rectangular ones have a filter in them. That's where air is being sucked into that AC to recycle it. So they have a filter in here. We want to go ahead and just grab it, pull it out. We want to grab that filter, clean that. That way we're not restricting air to our AC and it can work efficiently. Over here, we're going to see our wine guard gateway prep right here. If we want to upgrade our system and install that gateway, we can have internet with us wherever we go. Insert a SIM card, you'll have cell service that'll provide you Wi-Fi, or you can use that as a Wi-Fi booster there at the campground. So that's an added option right there. 12-volt powered. You're going to see that once again in that resettable fuse panel over there in the front. Behind here, we're going to notice a couple of screws. It's kind of some of the things I was talking about as far as hidden panels. I have a couple of screws there. You're going to notice, pull that off. All it does is gain us access to the 12 volts and the LP line to our furnace on this particular one. Return air being pushed through there. Speaking of furnace, we're going to see those vents down low for our furnace. Those are all going to be down along the ground. Whether it's coming out of wall, bottom of cabinet, stuff like that, all of your hot air is going to come out of those and not your ceiling vents. Only cold air coming out of your ceiling vents, only hot air coming out of your bottom floor line vents. Going into our bathroom, you're going to have a couple switches. We have one switch that controls our fan right here. That fan is going to be used to ventilate out. We have an open and close right here to be able to do that. And we want to use that to reduce moisture and humidity in our unit, of course, to reduce mold and mildew whenever we're taking a hot shower. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Want to use that. Of course, using the bathroom, you can use it for that too. Hot and cold on our shower. Down below it, if we need to access our P-trap, have a little access hole there. And it's a good idea to check all these fixtures, your P-trap, your sink, stuff like that. Get up under there. Check these fixtures, make sure they're nice and tight on there. When it gets hot and cold, those things can loosen up and you might have a little drip and that can cause some damage. Make sure we're checking all that stuff on a regular basis. Over here we have our toilet. We talked about it. What are we putting in our toilet? Number 1 and number 2 when it comes to sewage, okay? Liquids and solids. If it's liquids, send it down the drain, good to go. If it's solids, we want to barely push this pedal down and that will activate the water spout, start filling this with water. Want to fill it about half to 3/4 of the way and then flush it. Now the reason we do that is so we have enough water to actually flush those solids down the drain and we don't run into any clogging or anything like that. We also want to use only RV toilet paper so it will degrade properly in our tank system and our chemicals can go ahead and chew that up. This is also where you're going to add your chemicals. Those instructions are generally found on the bottles or bags, whatever you choose to use. They're all going to have some different types of instructions. This is our panel for our tankless water heater by Furrion. We kick it on, hold that on-off button right there, and we can change Fahrenheit, Celsius, whatever you want there, and then we can change our temperature. So the initial number that you're going to see is your output temperature that you want. So we can go ahead and adjust that to whatever we want. Whenever you initiate your hot water, you're going to see that flame icon light up and you're going to see that temperature start to rise until it hits that point. 12-volt powered, once again, you're going to see that in our fuse panels and stuff. As we move into our bedroom, let's show you that fuse panel. Have our 110 breaker system right here down at the bottom. Everything is labeled there. And we have our 12-volt fuse panels right here. That is, once again, everything is labeled right here as to what that controls. Now, if you have a 30 amp breaker, you're going to have a 30 amp service. You're going to have just a 30 amp breaker here, not 250s. And then, of course, your series of breakers for all of your appliances. Over here at the top, you're going to see your converter fuses. These are polarity fuses. If by your battery you were ever to touch those wires together, more than likely these fuses are going to blow. You want to check that out if your charging system isn't working. The converter is located behind this grid right here. So if that fan kicks on, you're going to hear it running. All that's doing is just cooling off the electronics in there. It's kind of a quiet fan, but you will notice it from time to time. I have a little blinking light in there for the status of our charging system. If you ever change from lead acid to lithium batteries, that's what that little button inside there does to go ahead and change from one to the other. We have the inverted outlets right here. You'll see a little sticker on them. If we were to upgrade to that inverter system, when we invert, those are the outlets that it would go ahead and power up. Below that 110 panel and stuff, on this particular one, we saw this access panel. We'll unscrew it. We can see the back of our water heater right here. LP line, 12 volts, water lines, everything. Once again, all those water connections, we still want to pull those panels off and check them every now and again. and make sure those water connections are tight and we don't have any water leaking out on our system. We're also going to have prep generally for our washer dryer combo. See our drain port there, we have our water ports there, we have our dryer vent location right there off to the side, 110 outlet up at the top. So you can see that in various floor plans if you have it. In our bedroom, we're also going to have another spot for our television mount, another hookup for our TV. This one is going to be cable antenna, this one is going to be satellite. Generally anything with 12 volt on it is going to be cable antenna. You're only going to have the antenna boost in one of these connections throughout your unit. So this one generally found in your living room. This one is not going to have that on off button on it. Another inverted outlet right there. And our front AC actually has a ceiling assembly, not like our one in the front. Difference in this one is our return vents are right here. So you have two filters on here we need to go ahead and keep clean. And these are our outputs. Now this is all still connected to our racetrack of vents right here. If we have these output vents open right here, this air for this AC is just going to come out of those vents right here. So if we want to cool this area off only, open those vents. If we want it to circulate through the vents right there in our racetrack, we need to make sure that we close these off. Otherwise that air is not going to connect to all that stuff. In our closet, not much to see, just storage through there. That pretty much wraps up everything on our unit. If you have any questions, comments about our Jayco Eagle brand, leave them down in the comments section. Hopefully this helped you, guide you on your way to being able to use your unit. If you got any other questions, let us know. Thanks for watching here at Great American RV Superstores. We bring the how-to to you.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.